Hello, my name is Tom Stanton. I'm a senior systems engineer with the public sector team of Centrify. I'm here today to talk about the new feature, a relatively new feature called Use My Account. It's great for remote Linux admins who still have to do smart card authentication. A lot of my clients, smart card is mandatory for everything, and but I still need to do some remote Linux administration of internal machines and cloud machines. So here's my requirements. Basically, this is the use case. So remote Linux admin, I need to SSH to internal Linux machines and SSH to cloud Linux machines. All right. Active Directory stays on premise. There's no copying or a duplicate of AD in the cloud at all. It stays on premise. But I need to authenticate that Active Directory with my smart card and PIN, and authorization of what machines I get access to is based on AD group membership. And then we want to audit everything. And as I mentioned, smart card is required. So actually inside of Active Directory for everyone's user object, smart card is set as required, so you can't get around that. If you authenticate the AD, you authenticate the smart card. So the basic Centrify on-site architecture, if you're not familiar with it, for Centrify infrastructure services or the old Centrify service suite, putting an agent on endpoints and doing AD bridging for non-Windows systems and doing privilege management across all the enterprise and auditing as well. And some of these things like network attached storage might be using an LDAP proxy. But the idea is doing who can log in and what kind of privileges and what kind of auditing we're doing across the enterprise, all based on Active Directory. All the backend is put in Active Directory. The auditing data we're going to store inside of a Windows Microsoft SQL. But there's no Centrify backend. We're storing everything in AD, the policies that go across the enterprise. And nothing needs to get to the cloud, but if you have the full platform, you do use the cloud architecture. So here's that. And again, maybe a recap for a lot of you. What we're talking about here is setting up a federated trust with my on-premise AD and the Centrify cloud tenant, outbound HTTPS. This is a mutually authenticated and encrypted connection, so no holes in your firewall, no software on the DMZ. Again, I'm setting up a federated trust. So then I can authenticate to that my tenant, the Centrify cloud. I'm authenticating with my AD credentials. Now I can get a SAML token to log in, single sign-on to apps or WS-Fed or those kind of open federation protocols. So internal users and external users can all authenticate to the cloud, and I get all this access, single sign-on to apps. This portal will look like this on the right. But what we're talking about today is remote users can log in, authenticate to AD with their smart card PIN, get this portal, and then get access to, besides different apps, get access to internal Linux machines and external AWS. This cloud architecture is going to allow us to do that. And one of the keys, by the way, is this connector can actually do a reverse proxy. There's a lot of functionalities we can do on that. Reverse proxy is one of them. That will allow me from the outside to get the machines on the inside. So the Centrify Use My Account is basically a single sign-on to Linux machines, and it's really simple. The remote admin authenticates the portal, and in my case, they're going to authenticate with smart card and PIN. The authorization is based by AD group, and all they do is select the cloud Linux they want to log in, click on Use My Account, and they log in. Select the internal machine they want to log into, click Use My Account, and it logs them in. No VPN is required. All sessions are audited, and all sessions are available for real-time monitoring and termination. And that's what I'll be demoing today. Specifically, in my demo, I'm running on a Mac virtual machine, running VMware Fusion. I have an admin, Mike Smith, and I am external. The way I'm doing external is, my host machine can't get to my internal private network. So I got a private Active Directory world running. In that Active Directory world, I have some Windows machines and an internal CentOS Linux machine. And then from my host machine, I can't get to that. My host machine browser is the external. So external is just a different network, right? So I can also get to external AWS Linux machines. So I have a AWS account, got a Linux machine running there. So my admin's name is Mike Smith. My AWS Linux machine has the Centrify agent on that's cloud join, and my internal Linux machine has that same cloud join agent, but also has the traditional privilege management agent on there as well. That's AD join. What used to be called Centrify Service Suite, now called Infrastructure Services. You join that machine to AD. All the policies are stored in AD. Users can raise their privileges based on policies stored in AD. So I have that full management agent plus the cloud agent. In AWS, I just have the cloud agent. All right. I'm going to authenticate to my portal with Active Directory credentials using my smart card PIN, no password, because if you look, my smart card is required for interactive logon. I'll show you how this is all managed by AD groups. I'll select the machine, I'll click Use My Account, and I'll be in. It'll be really simple. Everything's going to be audited. Everything's going to be available for real-time monitoring. Again, my test user here is Mike Smith. All right. So let me get to the demo. First thing I want to show is Mike Smith inside my world. This is my Active Directory world I'm running on my virtual machine here. If I go into Mike Smith's account, smart card is required. So anytime I authenticate to AD, you have to do smart card. I can't get around that. And I have this Remote Linux Admins AD group. That's the AD group that gives the role-based access control. Mike Smith is a member of that. All right, so that's Mike Smith. So now if I'm gonna go to my host browser. I'm gonna stick in my smart card. I have a YubiKey running as a PIV card. Now I'm gonna log in as my test user Mike Smith from the outside because I'm from my host machine. So I'm gonna pick my smart card certificate. Here's my PIN. Now I'm logged on as Mike Smith. My portal. This is the standard portal. I can do a lot of different things from here. We're going to be concentrating specifically on remote access to Linux machines, whether they're in the cloud or internal. But this is how I can get single sign-on to web apps on the outside or apps on the inside. Mike Smith does this every day to do his job. Jira's running on the inside, a bunch of other things. Even he can log into AWS. This is his login to the portal itself for the AWS. So single sign-on by getting a token like SAML. I can get to different applications. Right now I'm a remote administrator. Maybe it's my day off and I need to do some work or I need to fix a problem. I'm going to go into the admin portal. Now remember, I logged in here with my smart card PIN, right? So I already did two-factor. To get into here, I have to take two-factor. So any of these things that I can do behind the scenes or behind the admin portal, now that I can log into the portal, everything's protected by that smart card two-factor logon with my PIN. There we go. Too many virtual machines running, slows down my computer. So Mike Smith logged in, went to the admin portal, protected by smart card two-factor PIN. So now I can go into my systems, and you'll see all the different systems I have access to. Now a lot of these are down because this is a lab of a bunch of machines up and down. I have some sets on the right I can change. So I'm going to go to Unix systems, and here's all my Unix systems I have access to. CentOS 7B is internal, and this one right here, that's the one I'll be doing for internally, and this one down here is my AWS machine. All right, so let's log into that one. So all I got to do is click on it and then say, use my account. It's going to log me in. So the reason, again, I can only get to this because I logged in with two-factor with my smart card. No one else can get to it, but I logged in with my AD credentials onto this machine running in AWS. I do have a Centrify cloud agent on here. I look at packages. The only thing I got is that Centrify cloud agent. There is no traditional, the standard agent, privilege management agent. That's not on here. This is just the cloud agent. And that command I did, the cinfo command, is basically a status. I'm connected to this TRS Fed pod. That's my tenant, as you see up in the top left. All right. Now, the other thing you can do is I'm logged in. Someone else, a cloud admin or any people on the right team with the right permission, can monitor this activity and watch it. And they can also terminate it. So if I VI a file. So watch this. If I go to, so now I'm going to log in, show my administrator here. Diana Worth is one of my administrators. If I reload this, you'll see up top, Mike Smith is logged in. This is the time. All right, Mike Smith is logged into my AWS account. And down here, here's active sessions. So I can actually look at that active session. I can watch it. So I'm doing a mirroring. So I'm actually mirroring what's going on. Right? So anything I'm trying to do, the other person's mirroring. And what's kind of cool is they can also terminate it. So a lot of flexibility. This person can actually terminate it. So if I go back, it's been terminated. So access to AWS machine, really simple. Even internal machines. Again, I don't have a VPN up, but because I have that federated trust, I can say, use my account, and it's going to log me in. Again, log me with my Active Directory account. Now, on this machine, I have the cloud agent, but I also have the traditional Centrify agent that joins it to Active Directory. So you can see the Centrify direct control agent and some of the modular components we needed for there. And I can actually do a DZ info, which is a traditional command that says what kind of elevated commands I have. So I can actually do any command as root. So I'm an admin. I'm be able to do any of these Centrify privilege management. Now, Centrify privilege management, the traditional sudo is based on a sudoers file. Centrify's privilege management is based off a dzdo command, which is store the policies in Active Directory. So I could do dzdo cat etc shadow. So cat etc shadow obviously is not allowed, owned by root. Sudo is traditional way, but you got to have a sudoers file everywhere. With Centrify, you store your policies in AD, and I can do dzdo. Now, I don't have a password, so it took me two-factor smart card PIN to get into my portal to get into here. And nobody can get into this machine without two-factor. But do you want to do, again, MFA if I raise my privilege? If I want to do dzdo to look at etc shadow or run anything, what do I want to do? I can do nothing. I can prompt for an AD password, but I don't have a password. So what I'm going to do is MFA. So hopefully I can show you this. This particular user, Mike Smith, he has a mobile authenticator, the Centrify mobile app, and I ran out of phone, so I'm using my iPad. But this could, pretend this is his mobile phone, and this is registered. This device is registered to Mike Smith. All right. So this device is registered. So now I'm going to do dzdo, and I'm going to do something by root shadow, cat etc shadow. Now I have some options. The administrators don't have to do the options. They can only give you one option, but I have a bunch of options for my demo. I'm going to do mobile authenticator, and notice on the right, it goes to his mobile device, and it prompts him. So I can go in there, and I can hit approve. Now it's been approved. Now I can hit cat etc shadow, right? And then if I want to do it again, I have a certain amount of time. I don't have to keep doing that, right? So I'll run all these commands, and then after 5 minutes, I have to re-MFA. Again, this is all policy driven. Now, everything Centrify is doing, we're also logging it. This is important because look down here at this audit trail. So everything I'm doing, the dzdo command running as root, it's tailing a file. Or up here, you can see me actually running as root, doing the different commands. You can see what they're doing running as root in order to, I do who am I, or I looked at the cat etc shadow. So all this stuff is getting logged locally. And again, just like anything else, just because it's internally, the same thing. What's going on here, anybody else, administrator, you'll see that Mike Smith is logged into my CentOS 7P, and you see the active sessions available for watching and terminating. So I'm logging everything, and the reason I can do that again, I actually don't have an agent. When I showed you this, there actually isn't the Centrify auditing agent on there, but I'm doing that because this connector, everything is going through this connector. The connector is sending the audit logs to my auditing systems. So everything I'm doing here is being logged, and I'll show you that in a second here. So let me go ahead and exit out. So let me show you the auditing. So if I go to here, so I'm on where I keep my auditing preferences, or my auditing server. If I go under today, refresh, this is my audit analyzer. You can see I've been testing this all morning before I recorded this video. But here it is, the latest one right now. Went to my AWS machine. I can right click and I can look at the commands that I wrote. Remember all that stuff I did. And any one of these, I can go in and say replay. So you see on the left side, you actually get the metadata. I can do reports and query. Who ran sudo, who ran dzdo, who did different things. I can look at all that. I get the time and date. I can fast forward. I can pause it, play it back, right? And this was me switching back and forth with the monitor, right? And I can fast forward like this, and you can see what the person's doing. At any point of this, I can export this to WMV. And again, same thing with my internal machine, that's 7B. All those commands are available as well. So I can run all kinds of queries and reports to find out what's going on. Now the sexy dashboards, you think you need something like ArcSight or Splunk, and I actually do have one of those. I have Splunk running here. So give my virtual machine a second to catch up. So all this stuff I was doing goes into Splunk. So if I do some Splunk, let me do reload. Now I have so many queries you get with the free version of Splunk. I don't want to eat up my queries. But you see all the activity I did on that Unix machine is going to show up here in Splunk. So not only is Centrify recording the auditing data for the DVR-like playback, we can put all that data into Splunk. I might have to pause this here, give this a second. Oh, all right, it's catching up. There we go. So all the activity you saw inside here, I can look inside the activities, and you can actually see all the DZ-Do, who am I, DZ-Do, cat etchy shadow, all that data came into Splunk. Pretty dashboard, actual details of who did what everywhere, all right? Again, my Splunk running my virtual machine is not the fastest in the world here. But all that, when I tailed varlog, all this stuff ran as root. Who did it? Mike Smith, all right? So all that data is coming into Splunk. All that data is going into the Centrify auditing. I could do real-time monitoring and even termination. So how was I able to do all that? So let's go back into the PowerPoint. So basically what we're talking about is I was able to authenticate to AD, but then I use SSH to log into the Linux machines using ephemeral SSH certificate authentication. Fancy word, ephemeral, means temporary. So this is how it works, is it sets up that temporary SSH certificate that allows me to log in, and then that temporary SSH certificate goes away. And how we do that is with a master SSH certificate. So the steps, we're installing Centrify agent on Linux, that cloud agent we talked about that's joined to the cloud. We enrolled it. We make sure the open SSH has to be a certain level. Can't use the old ones. There's a master Centrify SSH key. So there's a CA built in every tenant. There's a master key, and I'll show you where to download that. You download that and put it on every Unix machine, and you update a few lines in the sshd.conf to point to that master file, and a couple other SSH configuration changes. Really simple. Now user can log on the smart card, like we did, that SSH is generated, and they'll be able to use my account, just like I showed you. And they'll get that SSH session, all right? And basically, we're logging in, and we're getting that connection back to AD if we're doing the full AD agent, so we get that Kerberos trust and everything. The Centrify zones is optional. Remember, I logged into the AWS Linux machine without Centrify zones. And here's a little more on the authentication sequences. Basically, again, smart card login, and then the account lookup. Smart card's validated. We generate that short-lived certificate, send that certificate down, log in with certificate, and of course, we're running with the full privilege management, full AD agent. We're going to validate authentication and retrieve that Unix profile stored from AD. So now I'm successfully authenticated. All right, so the setup for all this, how was this done? So I have ready for the documentation. The documentation that Centrify is already set up is really well done. Basically, it's, if you look at the online here, it's kind of talks about what I already said. There's a master SSH key you got to download, and you can keep it called CAPUB or rename it. But you're going to push that everywhere into the SSH file on the Linux machines, and then we're going to modify the SSH config file to say, hey, there's a master file there. There's a couple other settings we want to do. So where's that master file? Well, let me show you. I'm logged in as my master Diana Worth. So I can go down to, where is it? It is infrastructure, security settings. I'm in the admin portal, obviously, and then down here, download my key. So we download that key. That's that master key there. And then open here, some more documentation. We'll show you here what we got to do. We modify the SSH configuration files. The most important thing you're really doing is you're putting this. This is that trusted master key. So the master key, you're pushing this directory everywhere, and then you add this line to your SSH config file. Now, if you're also running the Centrify AD bridging agent and privilege management, you got to add these two lines. If you're on a Mac, you got to add that line. That same line if you're on a Core OS. But really, all you needed was this line if you're just in the AWS Linux, which is what I did. All right. So that is all the settings you need to do there. And then that's it for the SSH side. On setting up the actual use my account inside the admin, if I go to the actual system, right? So this was the high end, for every system, you have to allow them to log on. So you'll see here from these different systems, if I pick, say, the AWS machine, right? If you go in here, first of all, you got to go to settings, and you got to allow use my account. So that has to be clicked right there. So that's the first thing you do, is this system available for use my account? If I go to policy, you probably want to allow it to be accessed from a public network, especially for what we were doing here. And then permissions, who was able to log on? So if I go to permissions, you'll notice I have a bunch of things I've built already at the high level, basically the global level. And here's that AWS machine, right? There's a service account we use. But here's that AD group. Remember, remote Linux admins. My Mike Smith was part of it. And they can view and they can agent authentication. That's why Mike Smith sees this. So if I remove his AD group membership, these should go away. And let me actually do that. So if I go into ADUCT and we go into remote Linux admins and we remove Mike Smith. All right. So now Mike Smith, give him a second or just reload 7B, wrong one. So it's 7B in this IP 172. If I do a reload, notice they're gone. If I go to Unix systems, they're all gone, right? So he no longer has access. So the only way he gets access to those machines is being an AD group. You put him in that AD group, he gets access to the machine. So that's role-based access control. So let me put him back in there. Make sure I did that. Okay. And now, Mr. Smith, reload, and now you get access to your machines you need. There's my 7B and my AWS. So, again, that was the last part I want to show you, that AD group membership is what gives people access to these machines. They can only log into the portal with their smart card and their PIN, but the machines that show up is based on someone putting them in the right AD group. So it all flows downhill from there, the role-based access control. So based on that, oh, that's not what I want. I want to do a little recap. So again, the Centrify Use My Account, perfect for remote Linux admins, able to authenticate to the portal with a smart card and PIN. Authorization was given to me by my AD group. If I don't have access to a membership in that AD group, I can't get access to the machine. So somebody has to put me in that group, and I have to be authenticated and be a valid AD member, authenticate with my smart card and PIN. So my smart card needs to be valid. It was really easy to log into my Linux machine. I just selected it and clicked Use My Account, whether it was internal or external. My Active Directory stayed on-premise, no VPN, and all sessions were audited, and everything was available for real-time monitoring and termination. And that was it. That's all I want to show you. Thank you very much.